Boker Tov, good morning. As we come together today, I'd like to share a story about the idea of prayer in the synagogue, where our prayers come from, and how we give meaning to the words and actions of our communication with the divine. It is told that a certain villager used to pray on the days of awe in the house of study of the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement. And this certain man had a child whose wits were dull and who could not even read the letters in the prayer book, much less recite any of the holy words. His father had decided never to bring him along to the city because, in his mind, the boy was completely ignorant. But when the boy became a bar mitzvah, his father took him with him to the city for Yom Kippur, now that the commandments were incumbent upon him, so as to be able to watch him and keep him from eating out of, as the father thought, simple ignorance. Now this boy had a little flute on which he used to play all the time when he would sit in the field tending his flock. He took the flute with him from home and put it in his coat, even though his father didn't know about it. And the boy sat in the house of prayer all day that Yom Kippur without praying, because he did not know how. During the Musaf, the additional prayer that is added after the morning service, he said to his father, "Father, I want to play the flute." And his father became terrified and spoke sharply to his son, and the boy had to restrain himself. During Mincha, the afternoon prayer, the boy repeated again, "Father, let me play on my flute." Seeing that the boy wanted badly to play on his flute, his father said to him, "Where is the flute?" The child pointed to the pocket of his coat. His father therefore held the child's pocket in his hand to keep the boy from taking out the flute and playing it on this holy day. Holding the pocket with the flute in this way, the man stood and prayed Ne'ilah, the closing prayer of Yom Kippur. But in the middle of the prayer, the boy forced the flute out of his pocket and blew a blast so loud, all who heard it were taken aback. And when the Baal Shem Tov, the holy man leading the prayer, heard the sound, he shortened his prayer and ended the service. Afterwards, the Baal Shem Tov said, "With the sound of this flute, this child lifted up all of my prayers and eased my burden. For this child does not know anything, but by dint of his seeing and hearing the prayer of Israel all this holy day, the prayer's holy spark kindled a fire in him, and the flames of his longing burned higher and higher until his soul nearly expired. Because of the strength of his longing, he played the note of his heart truly, without any distraction, for the sole sake of the name of God. Now the pure breath of his lips was very acceptable to God, and by this means all of our prayers were lifted up." We have this idea here of a flute being played in the service, something that would be forbidden under traditional Jewish law. And yet the Baal Shem Tov readily accepts the boy's prayer because of the kavanah behind it, because of the intentionality behind the boy's prayer. We have two types of prayer in our service: the kava, the fixed words that are found in our prayer book, and the kavanah, the prayer that comes from inside, the prayer that is extemporaneous, that comes from our hearts and our minds, that truly connects us with that which is good and high and holy. And it is those prayers that are found between the lines of the text on the page, that truly allow us to connect with the divine. On Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, even for those who are regulars on Shabbat, regulars in our services, there is a lot of liturgy that is unfamiliar. A lot of melodies we only hear once a year. But when we open ourselves to accessing the divine, to finding ways to connect with the pure prayers of our hearts, whether through singing or nigun, wordless melodies, or through the words on the page or the words of our hearts, we truly can connect with God, connect with a spiritual moment that will allow us to open up to all of the possibility of this new year. Boker Tov.